This is Jonathan Agarwal here for Pro Boxing Fans, joined by Ben Shalom here at the announcement that Joshua Buatsi is a boxer fighter. Debut for you guys March 6th. First question, Ben, is he headlining that show?
Of course he is.
So Buatsi has signed. One thing you said in the press conference was he wants those big fights. Now, people look at those big fights, Anthony RBT, Dimitri Bivol, Matchroom, things like that. Why are you guys the best option to deliver those fights?
Because one, he's number one in WBA and so highly ranked in the governing bodies that he can't be stopped. So his world title, and it will happen. Two, the yard fight will 100% happen. And three, he's got so many big options that he just wants the biggest fights to have the biggest and resonate the most. That's what he wants. He wants to be a star, and he feels like he's been under a bit of not blaming anyone again. He just feels like he's been restricted. He feels like the shackles are off. You can see him bouncing around today. I'm delighted for him. He's had to stay quiet. People have many misconceptions about Josh. He doesn't want to do this, or he doesn't want to do that, or he doesn't want to fight anyone. Absolute rubbish. And we're going to prove that this year.
Just to clarify one thing, Eddie Hearn told reporters last week that he had matching rights on Buatsi and he intended to exercise them. So how does this situation work? Because surely that would give Matchroom the right to promote him, no?
Look, matching rights, I think you have to match many terms. And from what Buatsi and his team and his lawyers, they were never matched, and they weren't matched in time. And we were one of 4 or 5 promoters that were knowingly making an offer. We all make an offer and we all submit it, and we see which one he chooses. And I'm delighted that he's chosen ours. I warned him that he was gonna be subject of things online and being told that he's this and he's that, just as the other fighters have been. He didn't think so, because he's one of the most honest, respectful, waited his turn, been patient, sat on the sideline and done everything right. And I think he should be allowed to go and achieve his dreams. And I'm looking forward to doing absolutely everything to make them happen.
You proved that you're willing to work with other promoters with the Joyce Parker fight, but with a fight as big as Buatsi Yard, surely you'd want that on Sky and Frank would want it on BT. So would it have to be like on both channels, or would you be willing to let him go to BT for that fight if the right offer was there?
I think he owes us a favour after Josie Parker for Joe Joyce, and that was definitely Joe Joyce's biggest win and biggest night. So he definitely owes us a favour for that one. I think that fight will happen. I think it's the biggest fight for Anthony Yard out there, but right now Buatsi wants world titles, and that's what we're focused on.
I just want to run through a few other things, Ben. Whilst I've got you, Kell Brook did an interview yesterday with Boxing King Media and was speaking about the Conor Ben fight and things like that, and saying that Conor pulled out of their sparring early and things. What do you make of some of what was said in that interview, and is that a fight you want to make, Ben against Brook?
Look, Brook, I made no. I've said before, whatever he decides, I'll support. Sorry. And glad that he's back on it and back in the boxing world and talking about boxing. He would have been an amazing way to retire against Amir Khan. I'm glad that he got that fight, and we delivered that for him, and we delivered that night. He's not doing it for money, so he clearly feels like there's something left. And whatever he would do, I would support. Obviously, Conor Ben is not a licensed fighter and hasn't been exonerated yet, so maybe it's too premature to talk about that fight. But yeah, massive fan of Kell and whatever he does.
And what's the latest with Shields Jonas?
I think we'll be able to announce what's going on with that whole Shields Marshall Jonas situation in the next few days. It's exciting because all 3 of them are big stars now. For me, Jonas against Marshall would make massive sense because, Jonas against Shields. Shields coming down to 154 for the first time in a while. Jonas proving that she can operate at that level now, at that weight. Big fight, but then the rematch, there is a rematch clause. I don't want to say too much, but there is a rematch clause, and so that might be the fight that we see next.
2 quick ones. Rumours online about Joseph Parker, Dempsey McKean. Is there any truth in that?
I think Joseph just wants a big fight. I think I'll see him. I spoke to him this morning actually. He's going to Ireland with Andy Lee for a bit, and we'll see him on March 25th supporting his fellow Kiwi in David Light, who he believes is going to do the business. So I think by then, March 25th, maybe you have an answer. But yeah, whatever Joseph Parker wants to do, we'll support.
Final thing to ask you, Ben, obviously the big news going on right now is Fury and Usyk 70-30. Tony Bellew believes that's not a fair split. What do you make of it? And did you see Simon Jordan and Tyson going back and forth? What do you make of all of that?
Yeah, look, I just wanted to see the fight happen. It didn't look like a week ago that it was going to happen. It's always a devastating when a big fight doesn't happen in boxing, and we're all like feel like, oh, no, everyone's just going to be like, yeah, this is boxing, waste of time, all of that stuff. The big fights need to happen. It shouldn't take so long. But I understand there's problems, and it always comes down to money, and maybe someone needs to take a long-term view at the sport and say, how do we force these fights to happen? Because if it was always dependent on commercials, we're never going to get anything done. So there's so many big fights at heavyweight. That's the biggest one. Let's get it over the line, and let's get all the big fights happening, because it's great for boxing. I don't understand it. There's so many big fights to make. Why it doesn't, on every platform, just make them. There's so many big fights, and really hope that we see that one.
See, fans don't really care about purse splits. They just want to see the fight and things. But I mean, what do you make of it? Do you agree with Bellew, or you don't care?
I don't care, because I want to see the fight. Obviously, yeah, it's 3 world titles for Oleksandr Usyk, but then Tyson Fury is a big star. For me, if it's a unification, maybe it's a case where the governing bodies need to agree on splits. I don't know, maybe it should just be a straight 50-50 and it has to happen. It seems a little unfair, but at the same time, Tyson's a massive star, and that's what he'll be depending on. But forget the money, I don't care. Like, let's just see the fight. Stop talking about the money and different promoters and this and that. Let's just get the fight on.
Ben, always appreciate your time, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks for a Coley Light.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.